And check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, boys and girls, what's going on? Your man Lee Sanders back with you all for an all-new edition of the RCWR show for this Monday night of August 4th, 2025. How the hell y'all been, man? I hope y'all had a fantastic weekend. Of course, if you were keeping it right here all throughout the weekend, man, we hooked you guys up. This is now, if I'm not mistaken, our fourth consecutive night with shows, because we were first here Friday night after SmackDown went off the air. We did a special Friday night show, and then we were here for nights 1 and 2 for SmackDown, and now we're pretty much wrapping up here tonight with the Raw after SummerSlam fallout, as Raw came to us from the Barclays Center out there in New York. I was telling the wifey earlier, I think if not today, it was yesterday. I say, yo, we gotta plan another trip to New York. It's been a good minute since we've been up there in New York, and I definitely have Barclays Center on the bucket list. I do want to do some stuff at the Barclays Center, depending on what it is and everything. So, yeah, so we've been at it, man. I feel pretty well rested. I've paced myself pretty good all throughout this. So I definitely, before we get into things, want to take the time out and say big thanks to all of y'all that's been checking out all the shows that we've been pumping out these past couple of weeks. Been checking out the analytics. Everything's on the rise. I like what I'm seeing. That's what's up. Subscribers as well. Appreciate that love and support, especially during our SummerSlam week. All I got to say, let's go ahead and continue to ride that momentum as we get ready to go into the fourth quarter of 2025. Interesting developments from tonight's Raw. Some may say this was a little bit of a so-so episode, give or take. It really depends. I mean, I kind of found myself going through the motions for most of tonight's Raw on Netflix. There was definitely some key points that caught my interest, without a doubt. Of course, Becky Lynch's pipe bomb there on Nikki Bella. We'll definitely dive into that. Some other things we'll be getting into on tonight's show. I love the fact that it's been a relatively quiet news week. Not really much out there. I know the big point of discussion right now has to tie into Brock Lesnar's return to the WWE, as that has divided fans. From what I see, there's definitely a lot of vocal people that are against this move. A lot of people have now boycotted the WWE and everything. I think for those of you that's been seeing and hearing that chatter, you probably have in the back of your mind, Lee, what's your 2 cents on this from a distance? I didn't want to get too much into the weeds on our SummerSlam Night 2 post show, but I will definitely later on during this broadcast give you my 2 cents on all of that. So I really hope, I think that's going to be something that you guys will definitely appreciate. You know how we do it here. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's talk a little bit about Raw and have some fun for this next little bit that we are on the air here. So we got a short, easy peasy show when it's all said and done here. So of course, Seth Rollins, and the biggest lie that essentially he has ever told, right? You think about how all of this went down with the injury, this ruse that pretty much went on for 3+ weeks, and we see him cash in that Money in the Bank contract opportunity, night one of SummerSlam, screwing CM Punk to ultimately become the new World Heavyweight Champion. Mission pretty much completed as far as gaining absolute power within the company and everything. Rollins letting the crowd know, and this is, I'm glad that Rollins really leaned heavy into the crowd here, but the crowd, I tell you, I'm trying to understand the psychology of the crowd, and the crowd is so gullible. Because just feel me on this. Like before you go, just feel me for a minute, okay? Marinate on this. Okay, so Rollins theme music comes on, and you've got the Barclays Center. Whoa, okay, so they want to do the sing along, and they are doing the sing along. But as soon as sing along is over, now he's getting the booze. Now he's getting the booze, and it is followed up with chants of CM Punk. This just amazes me. Okay? You feel where I'm coming from with this? Like, okay, so you've already got Paul Heyman by your side. That should be enough right there to just warrant booze. But no, we're gonna sing along with your theme music. That has always perturbed me. Perturbed is the right word, but tonight was the night where I'm going, no, now I'm officially annoyed because you guys are just very fickle. Fickle. And I love that Seth Rollins opened things up by pretty much laying heavy into the crowd and saying to them, shame on them. Shame on them. Because time and time again, there's been doubt. And he reminds them, never count him out, never doubt him again. But most importantly, shame on them for turning their back on him. Chanting OTC and right on cue. Chants for OTC. Chanting CM Punk, right on cue. Chants for CM Punk. But that shame. Shame. Just shame all over the place, right? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Shame on every person in the locker room who made it their mission to stop Seth Rollins from cashing in his Money in the Bank contract. Now, we get to the biggest elephant in the room, which was really, for me, the main meat and potatoes. Seth Rollins, and the greatest lie he has ever told in his WWE career. How do you address this whole faking of an injury? So this is what he had to say in regards to that. He said, they think they so smart. They thought that they could stop me at every single turn, but he always has a plan B. Rollins would reveal that it was a top secret plan that only 2 people knew about. His hot wife and still the reigning Women's Intercontinental Champion in Becky Lynch, more on her later on, and his oracle, Paul Heyman. The only 2 that knew about this plan. And together, they achieved what they set out to achieve, which, for Rollins, it's always been about absolute power. And now he has that absolute power. As with that World Heavyweight Championship around his waist, he is the past, he is the present, he is the future. And I am under the impression that in regards to this stable, which we've been calling the New Dangerous Alliance, Rollins said that this, and I'm assuming he's referring to his stable with Heyman, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker, he referred to this as the Vision. So I'm assuming that is going to be the name, the pending name of the new stable. I can't wait to see what type of merchandise they get ready to pump out for that. So let's pause right there. Let's pause, because I was very curious how WWE was going to tackle this whole injury thing, right? And by the way, I definitely want to follow up from the discussion that we had last night about WWE deciding they were no longer going to be doing media scrums. Boy, it's got a few people ruffled in the wrestling community and everything, but I do want to revisit that and give you guys some additional thoughts. I ended up talking with Tams right before. Actually, no, I ended up talking to Tams earlier this morning before she headed out to work. I was making her breakfast and packing her lunch, and we were just catching up and everything. And I was like, telling her how the post show had went, and I asked her before she went to bed while I was doing the post show last night, "Hey, do me a solid, just watch a couple of minutes of the WWE post show. I want to get a fix on where things are." I just felt from a production technical standpoint, I kind of knew where they were going, but I just needed confirmation. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. I was curious how WWE Rollins was going to address this whole biggest ruse situation. And I got to tell you, I was reminded about a incident. Okay, I know we've got this WWE Unreal show that's on Netflix, and apparently they're saying more episodes is going to be returning next year. So if you ate that up and everything, hey, that's something to look forward to. I know some of my colleagues actually have been encouraging me. They say, "Lee, you're into the media production and all of that, the technical aspects. You actually should go out of your way to watch it, even though you know what you're doing and everything. You know your respective field, the field that you're trying to get in. You should definitely watch it and follow up with the listeners about it and everything, because it's not all about how the sausage is made." I'm going, really? Like, yeah, yeah, go ahead, check it out. So I'm going to check it out this week, and I will follow up with you guys next week, let you all know what I think. So if you've been on the fence about the series and all that, don't worry. You haven't gotten around to watching it. I'll definitely hook you guys up. Seeing this whole Seth Rollins and how WWE addressed this whole fake injury thing, it had me going back down memory lane a little bit. And the old wrestling fan in me, no, I don't wish for yesteryear. Like, I can't keep looking back. I can be fond of it, but I can't be like, bring back them good old days. I can't be like that. But I can tap into this old noggin of mine. It's not too old, but I can tap into this noggin of mine, and I can pull an instance that I can think of in wrestling history where the wrestling community, everybody involved, fans, insiders, reporters, all just cringed. And boy, the way that they looked at this particular thing I'm about to mention, it was definitely a black eye. So let's rewind it back. We're talking about World Class Championship Wrestling, WCCW, 1987. Fritz Von Erich. And in particular, the Von Erich family, they were involved in a feud with the fabulous Freebirds. And during a emotional in-ring segment, Fritz Von Erich, the eldersman of the Von Erich family, the patriarch of the Von Erich family, he collapsed at ringside. And this had forced the commentators to drop their headsets off, and they're just going, "Oh my God, what the hell's going on here? Mr. Fritz, Mr. Von Erich." EMTs, all that were coming out, and Fritz Von Erich, when he collapsed to the ground, he's clutching on to his heart and everything. Personnel, family members, they're surrounding this guy. The crowd is just, they have this overwhelming hush of silence as many are seen crying, and little kids are hugging their parents or loved one, trying to figure out what the hell did they just watch? What the hell is going on here? And later, it was revealed that Fritz had survived, and that the heart attack, which essentially he suffered, it was kayfabe. It was scripted. Basically, it was part of a worked angle to basically stir up emotions and heat. That's what it was all about in a nutshell. This was a story arc like way before the MSG curtain call with Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Triple H, Kevin Nash, way before the curtain call. This was the story arc right here that blurred the lines, and how I like to say the line begins to blur between real life grief, empathy, sympathy being scripted into drama and everything. This was a moment where the wrestling community, the wrestling industry, its fans, the insiders, everybody said, yeah, y'all went way too far. It's remembered today as an example of old school heat that's gone way too far. And particularly the timing of this was I want people to understand this, even though you weren't born in 1987, this ties so perfectly to what happened with Seth Rollins and him faking his injury and all that. Because understand something. When all of this was going on back in 1987, the Von Erichs had already suffered heartbreak. They already suffered tragedy that had included the deaths of David Von Erich, which was in 1984, and then Mike Von Erich months earlier in 1987. And remember the year that I just gave you, when Fritz Von Erich, the heart attack and all of that, that was in 1987. That was a few months after Mike Von Erich passed away. So again, this was looked at as old school heat, gone too far. Some would say it was effective at the time, but looking back on it, hindsight being 2020, it was definitely cringeworthy. That's the word I was looking for. So when you link it back to Seth Rollins, WWE, and this whole injury angle that they went with. Now, until we hear differently otherwise directly from Seth Rollins, and we hear the real skinny about, well, here's what was going on, you know, then I do believe, until I'm told otherwise, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. I do believe something was going on with Seth Rollins, and as a result of that, WWE, they needed to pull an audible. They needed to figure out exactly what was going on with him. I do believe something was up where maybe they just wanted him to get checked out. And then once they were able to figure out what was going on, okay, so basically he just needs to rest for a little bit. Okay, well, then let's go ahead and let's give him that rest that he needs. Let's make sure that he's kind of able, I would say, 4 years. So definitely recently, we've seen Seth Rollins in this position where, he'll go at it pretty hard for a couple of months, and then he'll need to go away for a couple of months because he's that physically banged up and everything. If it turns out that's not the case at all with Rollins, he wasn't beat up, and WWE was just trying to find a way to get him off TV and all of that. They did harm. As far as I'm concerned, they did serious harm to Seth Rollins because you already have a vocal amount of folks in the wrestling community that can't stand the Seth Rollins character. You already have a bunch of individuals that feel as though Seth Rollins is literally borrowing from other superstars, that he's truly not original. All right. He's just copying. He's basically a copy of a copy of a copy, to kind of quote one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs, right? I mean, that's literally what's going on. And so it's a very slippery slope that WWE is finding themselves in right now with this whole Seth Rollins situation. Where do I stand with this? Oh my God. Honestly, I think things could have been handled a lot better, because now look at what you've created going forward. Now, when you and I and everybody else in the community hears about our favorite wrestler, they've suffered some type of an injury or whatever. Now we're essentially going, are you sure? Are you really sure? You're lying, right? This is just part of the story. Like, come on, come on. Just between us, like, come on, be real. They're not really injured, right? And so you should not have that type of a aura going forward now, especially when WWE has pretty much embraced, especially when Dwayne The Rock Johnson be opening his mouth in interviews and he's giving these whole verbal theses on performers and entertainers of WWE, and how they are just like actors and all this other stuff. And we've got Triple H, The Rock, and a few other people that's basically going, hey, yeah, scripted, yeah, we got you pretty good, huh? Ha ha ha, yeah, just sit back, enjoy the ride, enjoy the show. So I don't like the new precedent that WWE has set here going forward, and to pretty much have Seth Rollins be in that position. It just comes off cheap, cheap heat, cheap, lazy booking, cheap creative. I'm down. Don't get me wrong, folks. If you want to have Seth Rollins ultimately be the World Heavyweight Champion, I'm down for that. But I just feel there were other paths that could have and should have been taken. It should have been taken. This isn't a case where, if you were to ask me, Lee, are you personally irritated, mad, or at the fact that Seth Rollins did XYZ and WWE? Are you mad? No, I'm not irritated. I'm not. But my whole thing is, guys, going forward, really make sure you're taking that step back and make sure you're really, really outweighing the pros and cons of what you're going to do creatively. Because, man, it's bad enough that you have so many people, especially those that do not educate themselves on wrestling, on this wrestling industry. It's bad enough you got them running around saying, that shit is fake. Who gives a fuck about that? That shit's fake. Nobody cares about that. Now we have wrestlers like Rollins through WWE. We're faking injuries now. Meanwhile, we have some of our favorite wrestlers that's in other promotions out on the indies. They're suffering legit injuries, life-threatening injuries. Chris Bay, I'm looking at you, brother. I see you. I see you. I recognize you. Speedy recovery, man. Speedy recovery, right? One day at a time. He's doing great. But we don't need for there to be that new narrative. You're not injured. Who are you kidding? Just my thoughts on that. You guys feel free to sound off. I'm not trying to go all long-winded, but that's pretty much it. In a nutshell and everything. So all this is going on. LA Knight crashes the scene. Very convenient, because we did bring him up on SummerSlam. I believe it was SummerSlam night. I think it was the night one post show that we mentioned something about LA Knight. Go back and listen. If not night one, definitely night two, we mentioned it. LA Knight crashes the scene. Now, this I will give brownie points to WWE, the great circle back of storytelling, because one of the things that I had alluded to was, wow, well, this injury was fake, yada, yada, yada. And now we've got LA Knight kind of looking like a damn chump. What the hell? Kudos to WWE for this nice throwback of storytelling, because if you're keeping tracks at home, LA Knight was the last person to have faced Seth Rollins in a one-on-one matchup, and he beat him. Although I didn't like the way in which that all went down, but still, brownie points for the full circle of storytelling. LA Knight saying to Rollins, why did you fake this injury of yours? Was it because maybe you were afraid that I legit was going to hurt you at Saturday night's main event? Could be. Sure, you ate the BFT. I got the pin. Whatever. LA Knight talks about how he was on vacation, minding his own business, enjoying SummerSlam, saw how everything panned out, and he pretty much pulled that Leonardo DiCaprio snap and point at the finger of the TV and realized he had to get to the Barclays Center ASAP, to which he did. LA Knight reminds Rollins he was the last person to beat him, and he will be the first person to beat him and really make it hurt in the worst way possible by taking away that World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins not trying to hear any of the noise, not interested in putting the title up against Knight. Adam Pearce crashed the scene. Here's WWE trying to weave even more needles in the thread for the debacle it was there of how they handled this whole thing. Through Adam Pearce basically saying to Seth Rollins, yo, you lied to the medical team week after week after week. You lied to the fans. You lied to Adam Pearce. The hell with going with whatever's normal. Nah. It's official. World Heavyweight Championship match. LA Knight taking on Seth Rollins, main event for tonight's WWE Raw. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about that main event match, and then we'll go ahead and we'll piggy on back to everything else that had played out during tonight's show. Because we got this nice smooth, right? We might as well just go right there. Solid matchup between LA Knight and Seth Rollins. I love the fact that to a certain degree, LA Knight is once again in this position where he's kind of protected here. I know that there's a decent amount of folks that loved him some LA Knight. I know LA Knight had made some headlines going into SummerSlam weekend, as there was a comment, if I remember it right, that he liked where someone said something along the lines of, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but somebody said something along the lines of, if Triple H isn't going to pull the trigger and make LA Knight a world champion, then LA Knight needs to go elsewhere. That was basically what was said. And apparently LA Knight had liked that post. So, hey, look, you can like a post. That doesn't mean that there's trouble in paradise and all of that. It doesn't mean that whatsoever. But solid match between LA Knight and Seth Rollins, packed with a whole lot of drama and everything. Final moments of this matchup, LA Knight connecting with a jumping top rope elbow, got him a near fall, tried going for the BFT, that ended up getting countered. They both go crashing out over to the floor, heading over to the announcer's table. Rollins getting back up on the offense, peeling the padded mats on the floor, peeling that back, was getting ready to do some serious damage there to LA Knight when all of a sudden jumping Seth Rollins from behind, CM Punk. So pretty much match was thrown out, a disqualification. So if you're keeping track, that basically means Seth Rollins won via DQ. LA Knight looking on at Punk wondering, dude, what the hell? You just messed me up big time. You messed up my flow, man. Seriously. Messed up his flow big time. But if you are a LA Knight fan, you're definitely looking at what happened here and you're going, okay, well, at least we can make an argument that with what happened with LA Knight, hey, because of this interference, and keep in mind the way this match was booked going into it, Adam Pearce made the announcement that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker were going to be banned from ringside. So that just left Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, I guess he figured Paul Heyman wasn't really a threat. So Paul Heyman was cool being at ringside, basically. But you see how this interference from Punk. So if you're an LA Knight fan, you're going, okay, well, at least LA Knight can say, yo, I was this close. I think I could have got the job done. I'll never really know now because that goddamn CM Punk interfered in my business. The other thing that's really cool about this too that I need for people to think about as far as the full circle of storytelling here, let's not also forget that this isn't the first time that LA Knight and CM Punk have butted heads. They butted heads some months back. I hope you guys have been on top of your stuff. I hope you've been on top of your homework. So we've definitely seen some seeds being planted here where if WWE decides, yo, let's do a LA Knight CM Punk matchup, let's write that out for a couple of months. Yo, they definitely, there's enough there that they can continue to build on it and everything. So now, look, in regards to LA Knight, it's very well possible that with Clash at the Paris coming up, LA Knight could be in a position where he gets that definitive matchup, like no excuses. You don't have to worry about interference because X amount of people are going to be banned at ringside. Whoever tries to interfere on the spot, not only will they be ejected, but they're going to be suspended indefinitely until further notice. It's possible that LA Knight, Seth Rollins clash. That very well could happen. It could also be LA Knight, CM Punk. Winner of that wins the right to face Rollins at Clash. But then it could also be a scenario where maybe it's a double countout between those two guys. And at Clash, we get a triple threat involving all of those guys. WWE's in a very cool position right here where either way, fans are going to be happy. Either way, fans are going to be happy. So post-match, Punk continues going after Rollins. LA Knight not pleased. Braun Breaker coming from out of nowhere, spearing the hell out of Punk. Bronson Reed crushing the hell out of Knight. Seth Rollins following up with some stomps. Everything's looking good. Credits come up. Villains are standing strong, or their new name for this stable, The Vision. Just when we thought the show was over, I know I had the remote control in my hand. I was getting ready to put on the local news so I could watch the first couple of minutes of news. We hear the music of Roman Reigns. Roman comes on out there, delivers a Superman punch just out the gate to a charging Bronson Reed. Takes out Breaker for a hot little bit. Sees Rollins. Runs into the ring. Rollins rolls out. Breaker tried attacking Roman from behind. Roman pretty much heard him coming. Negated him. Then Bronson comes in there. Numbers game just too much for the OTC one. They laid him out. Bronson Reed going up to the top rope. Not once, not twice. 3 times hitting the tsunamis. And then to add more insult to injury, the running gag continues with my man Big Bronson Reed. Took Roman's shoes off his feet. So if you keeping track at home, fam, that's now 2 weeks in a row that Big Bronson Reed has jacked Roman Reigns' shoes. I don't know about you all, but Reed is on a roll. I mean, look, he ain't got to worry about getting the latest Jordans or Kobe's or Nikes, because all he got to do is just wait for Roman to get them joints and then beat his ass on sight. I mean, he is building quite the collection off of Roman Reigns. I mean, I love that. It almost reminds me of one of my favorite Chappelle Show skits of all time. Chappelle played this character in this skit called Calvin. Look this up, Calvin. And it was all about Calvin and the fact that he got this new job at McDonald's. And you see different variations of Calvin and how he's liking working at McDonald's and everything. And I'll never forget one of my favorite skits, the late Charlie Murphy. I think Darnell Rollins was in there and like one other person. They played these homeless people that was chilling over by a garbage can or whatever. At least I think they were pretending to be homeless people. I don't know. And Charlie Murphy, he was like, yo, did you hear? Calvin just got a new job at McDonald's. And the other guy, oh, hey, all right, congrats to Calvin. Yeah, yeah, that's what's up. Hey, yo, let's go rob his ass. And then they put on these ski masks. So I'm looking at Big Bronson Reed, and I can just picture Big Bronson Reed now going forward in these little skits backstage with Braun Breaker. Hey, yo, did you hear? Did you hear the new Kobe, 25th anniversary shoes just came out? Oh, yeah? Yeah. Where it is, Roman pushing them joints right now. Like, yeah, oh, good for Roman. Yeah, yeah, let's go rob his ass. Like, that's literally what's going on with this. I love it. It's a nice running gag. The fact that Roman has not checkmated Bronson Reed yet with them shoes. It's a great running gag. To WWE, I say keep it going. Just keep it going. Whatever you got to do, just keep it going for as long as you can until eventually you got to have Roman get the big payback. But I love that. I love that. Villains standing tall to pretty much in the show there. Good stuff all the way around. High marks for everybody involved. Everybody doing really, really well. We were here Sunday night, and I couldn't help but wonder, so how is the alliance going to be looking as far as the men that's going to ultimately be taking on the Vision? And now we definitively know CM Punk, Roman Reigns, they've got their differences, obviously. Can they put those differences to the side to be on the same page? But then you've got LA Knight thrown into the mix as well. A lot of friction going on there between those three men. Not for nothing, another situation that could go down as well, maybe leading up to Clash at Paris, Roman, Punk, Knight, they could very well be involved in a triple threat joint to see who goes to Clash to take on Rollins. That's another thing that could play out as well. So a lot of interesting twists and turns that can happen in less than 2 weeks to go until Clash, or is Clash? I'm actually looking right now. I believe Clash at Paris is supposed to happen at the end of the month. I kind of feel like, yes, I'm remembering right. It's going to be happening August 31st. So WWE, that gives them roughly about 4 weeks or less, 4 weeks to less to figure out how they want to do this. But you guys sound off. How are you seeing it play out? Now that I've laid everything out, sound off. Let me know how you guys are seeing everything play out. Meanwhile, going on to other areas for tonight's Monday Night Raw, first matchup of the evening, Miro taking on Sheamus in another classic encounter here. I love the fact that these two men just beat the holy shit out of each other. I mean, this was hard hitting at its finest. Really appreciated when they were taking the action over to the crowd and they were just banging the hell out of each other's chest with closed fists and all that. It was a hard hitting brawl that was going all over the place. We did not see a definitive winner because both men did not get back to the ring in time. I would say this was maybe after about roughly 10, maybe 11 minutes. Sheamus looking like he was in berserk mode when the referee was trying to get on him and let him know the match is over to stop attacking Miro. And the two guys, just the disdain between these two and them continuing on assaulting each other. You had to have WWE officials come out, all of that, try to get control. Miro at one point manages to grab Sheamus's shillelagh, and we've seen Miro these past couple of weeks and what he can do with that shillelagh. But Sheamus coming in with a bro kick. These two guys just brought, and I love the fact that all throughout the night, it didn't just stop right there. Continuing all throughout the night, we saw them brawling. Love that touch, right down to the point. Remember what we were talking about on the SummerSlam post shows? I mentioned as far as what's next for Sami Zayn. I said, not for nothing, but I personally would love it if we could get Sami Zayn somehow in a program, get him in a feud next with Miro. I don't know who's watching the show, but I know over the years there's been people that's been keeping tabs. That's not me saying that just to be saying that. It's the truth. Boy, that was pretty scary accurate because during one of the backstage brawls, we see Sami Zayn, who's being interviewed. He's giving his thoughts on, okay, he's defeated Karrion Kross. Uh, Sammy talks about the fact that he had the opportunity, as we all saw at SummerSlam, to use a steel pipe on Karrion. It was very tempting. He gives Scarlett props for giving him that pipe, but he talks about how it's just not in him, but he was very, very tempted, but it's just not who he is. He knows what he's trying to be, he knows what he wants to continue to be. And basically, that was kind of his nice way of saying, I don't want to take those kind of tactics to get to where I'm trying to be in the long haul. Well, the next thing you know, his little interview gets interrupted by Miro and Sheamus. I mean, and he tries to be the peacemaker, break the two of them up. And the next thing you know, I think Miro ended up just cold clocking Sammy in the face. And Sammy's going, what the hell was that about? Really, dude? Like, seriously, what the hell was that about? Now we find out later on in the night, next week on Raw, is going to be Sami Zayn versus Miro. Poof. Holy shit. I mean, seriously, holy shit. I mean, that's just, hey, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's exactly where we need to go. That's exactly where we need to go. Some other action that happened on tonight's Raw. Let's see. Looking at my notes here, just kind of jog my memory a little bit. Grayson Waller taking on Penta. That was a pretty good matchup as well. I love how this was pretty much an instant Acme feud that just came out of nowhere. New Day still mourning. They want their babies back. Those tag titles. Grayson Waller, boy, they've got him. I'm loving this arc right now because they've got Grayson Waller who has kicked Theory to the curve. They've got Waller being this gullible, dense dude that thinks New Day is embracing him, that he is the new third guy. And I love how he walks up to Xavier Woods and Kofi and says to them, hey, I get why you left me hanging there last week. You were just trying to teach me. You were trying, and New Day is leaning heavy into this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, you know, they don't checkmate him right there on the spot to let him know, dude, you're not a member of the New Day. At least not yet. We haven't even had that kind of. All they're thinking about right now is a rematch for their tag titles. They want to regain their tag titles. So what does Grayson Waller do? Runs on up to Adam Pearce, insulting the man and all that. Pearce is like, can't you see I'm talking to Penta? This has to wait. Waller's not having any of it. He wants for New Day to get their tag titles back. Pearce doubles down again. I already told New Day they got to earn the opportunity, but since you want to inject yourself in my business, boom, there's your instant Acme feud, people. Penta needs a match. Grayson Waller's right there. Boom, there's our next match right there. Pretty solid match between these two guys. These guys went at it for roughly about maybe 7 minutes, give or take. Penta coming out with the win. Nice little victory for Penta. I'm down with that. This was cool. It's interesting how the fans continue to react for Penta. I know that WWE and AAA has that Triple Mania event that's going to be coming up in about 2 weeks' time. I'm wondering, I don't know the full card just yet. Definitely as it gets closer, we'll look at it more. But I'm wondering if Penta is going to have any type of involvement in that. Because I would love to see him get involved in that. Post-match, New Day tries going after Penta, who clears the rings, manages to steal Xavier Woods' hat. Said that hat is then thrown at New Day, and Penta takes him down with a big flip dive. Some good stuff. Some good stuff that we had going on right there. Meanwhile, some interesting news on Brock Lesnar. You know, Brock Lesnar was never advertised for Raw tonight. And depending on if you maybe were trying to get a little bit of a bird's eye view on how I was doing things for tonight, I actually was expecting for Brock Lesnar to maybe do a little something. No Brock Lesnar. So for those of you that did not watch Raw yet, just know that no Brock Lesnar. And instead, the way things are looking right now, it's safe to say Brock Lesnar perhaps is going to be on this Friday SmackDown. John Cena has been advertised for SmackDown. As a matter of fact, speaking of John Cena, looks like there's been a change in his last dates. Again, looks like there's been a change in his last couple of dates here. So here's where things stand right now. We've got the August 8th Montreal, Quebec SmackDown edition. John Cena is going to be on there. And then after that, August 22nd, he'll be at the SmackDown in Dublin, Ireland. Shout out to my people in Ireland. From there, he'll be on the August 29th SmackDown from Lyon, France. And then at August 31st, he'll be at Clash in Paris. Safe to say, Lesnar, Cena, Clash in Paris. And then check this out. Shout out to my people and family in Chicago. September 5th, Chicago, Illinois, SmackDown. September 15th, Springfield, Massachusetts for Monday Night Raw. And then nice little gap after this, October 11th. Look at that there, almost a month. October 11th, Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia. And then November 29th, Survivor Series in San Diego. And then December, retirement match. So unless WWE and them decide they want to, do a couple of more additional dates, maybe try to work something out there, that seems to definitely be it for John Cena. So those of you looking for Brock Lesnar, I would suspect Friday Night SmackDown this week. That's probably where you want to be. But while we're speaking about Brock Lesnar, he was mentioned on tonight's Raw broadcast, as Michael Cole revealed in his chat with Corey Graves there, that apparently Michael Cole talked to Triple H and Nick Khan about Lesnar's return. And apparently they agreed weeks ago that it was time to bring him back home. And Brock Lesnar was said to be happy with that. So, yeah. Should we maybe get into the Brock Lesnar stuff now? I mean, since we're kind of bringing it up here. Because, I mean, as far as wrestling news goes, it has been relatively quiet. There really hasn't been anything that's been going on since last we were on the air. I'm just debating. I can tell you what, because honestly, after this, let's do this. So that we don't have to do a hard 180, right? Because that's a serious turn, because that's a very in-depth discussion that has so many layers to it. Let's finish the talk of Raw, and then we'll dive into that whole Brock Lesnar stuff. Okay? Fair enough. So let's get through this. Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, they are still trying to figure out if they're friends or not. What are you going to do once there's wrinkles in the friendship? Then we have to queue up Todd, is it Todd Rugen? I always think of Robert Palmer's version. Can we still be friends? Well, what about that one? But Charlotte and Bliss, they pretty much are there. Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, they want a rematch for those tag titles, and that's pretty much what we get. 12 minutes and some change. And a Sister Abigail later. Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, still your women's tag champions. It's this tag team has really been a quiet sleeper. I love the way that it's been creeping up. I mean, this is one of my, and I never thought I would say this in all the years that I have been here on this show, because even when Alexa Bliss was doing her thing with Bray Wyatt and all of that, I was more interested in what was happening with Bray Wyatt than I was with Alexa Bliss. But this is the first time in years that I have been invested in what's going on with Alexa Bliss. Charlotte, but I'm really finding myself going, this is one of my favorite highlights of each week, is seeing the continuation here, the continued development of Charlotte and Alexa. It kind of gives me shades a little bit of, remember how it was when we were seeing week after week what was going on with Daniel Bryan, or Brian Danielson, and the Big Red Monster Kane, and all their respected segments. All that was like really, really cool back in the day. I'm kind of having shades of that per se. So it's really nice to see these two distinct personalities, polar opposites, right? I mean, you're almost, and no, I'm not comparing them to this, but you think about the fact that, a long time ago, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the two-man power trip, and just, man, if it wasn't for, who was it? Triple H's injury, I think it was, you go, what might have happened there? What could have been? Right? It's like, it's one of those things where you'll never really know, unfortunately. But yeah, this is one of those quirky little, and the fans are really, really taking in Charlotte. I loved hearing that Barclays crowd tonight chanting for Charlotte and everything. And you can just tell these days that she's a completely different person as a result. Her talent has always been there. There's never been a question with the fans, but I think now it's just kind of one of those deals where now that she's legit having fun, and at least for the foreseeable future, it comes off as if she's not chasing after a women's championship. That, and this is good. This is going to do nothing but good for Charlotte. To WWE, I say, lean into this for as long as humanly possible. That's my whole thing. Lean into this for as long as humanly possible. Because I love it. I love it. I don't want to see this be broken up by any stretch. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see a situation occur where, because it would be so easy for WWE to eventually have Charlotte turn on Alexa. It would be very, very easy. But I think instead, especially since Alexa has said in a recent interview that she still wants to try to lean into the supernatural power side of the Alexa Bliss character if and when the time is right. Because as far as she's concerned, that's still kind of unresolved or whatever. So, kind of keeping that in mind, I just kind of feel like it makes more sense that if you're going to have anybody turn, you need to have Alexa turn on Charlotte. Because as far as I hate to use the word rehabilitating, but as far as let's reimagine Charlotte Flair, WWE have stumbled upon a very good thing, and they need to ride that for all it's worth until otherwise. Um, Decent little tag match here between all the girls involved. No really complaints. Nothing of really strong observation here. Maybe with the exception of, I would like to see Roxanne Perez. I'd like to see her act a little more like Shawn Michaels was back in the day when he had Big Sexy Kevin Nash. I can just remember the times back in the day where, man, if you were trying to get your hands on Shawn Michaels would egg you on. He'd moon you. He would do whatever to get in your head, piss you off so bad that when you tried charging after him, there was big sexy Kevin Nash right there. And you just got Shawn Michaels just kind of snickering and all that from behind and everything. I would love to see Roxanne Perez kind of lean into that a little bit more. Because, granted, if you're facing somebody like Alexa Bliss, and let's be honest, Roxanne is just a little bit shorter than Alexa. Not by much, but it's definitely noticeable that she's shorter than Alexa. Then yeah, when you're fighting somebody that's your own size, you should definitely, this ain't nothing. But when you're getting ready to take on somebody like a Charlotte Flair, you should be throwing the hands up like Shawn Michaels, and you should be no. You should be backing up into a corner and all that. You should be tagging the big guy, and then when the big guy gets in there, does the work that they need to do, boom, tag back in the smaller guy, Shawn Michaels, and then you're doing your trash talking. You're looking at the crowd. This your girl, huh? This your girl, huh? Look at her now. Look at her now. Smack her upside the head a little bit and all that. I'd like to see Roxanne kind of play into that a little bit more. Other than that, though, she's continuing to do pretty good. Bailey ends up running into Lyra backstage, tries to apologize for everything that went down at SummerSlam. Lyra tells her straight up, look, man, do you realize through your interference what you did? Like, I can't challenge for the championship for as long as Becky is the champion. Look, I don't want to talk to you. We're not friends. We're not enemies. But just, dude, stay the hell away from me. Boy, I can relate to that. I've said that. I've used that line a time or two over the years. It's like, hey, we not cool. We ain't friends. We damn sure ain't enemies, but just, you go do your thing and I'm going to do my thing. I love that. Dominic Mysterio taking on Dragon Lee. Non-title matchup. Mysterio picking up the win at about 8 minutes and change, getting a little bit of help there because we did see El Grande Americano come up, jump on the apron, talking hot trash there to Dragon Lee. Remember, we've been seeing them kind of button heads off and on the past couple of weeks, but then we had the new Mystery Max guy who a lot of you guys are thinking it's Pete Dunne. He popped up, jumped on the apron, but then there was a third Max guy. I think that third Max guy might have been Chad Gable. He pops up, hits Dragon Lee, which pretty much sets up Dom to pick up the win that way. So we got a lot of craziness that's going on here with this Americano stuff, and it's kind of one of those, will the real Americano please stand up? How long do you think it's going to be before WWE tries to recreate the three Spider-Men pose? I mean, first it was just two Spider-Men, but now it's three. So how long do you think it's going to be before WWE, hits that pointing pose? You know they're going to. You know eventually they're going to build up to that and everything. Post-match, AJ Styles, he runs in there swinging a boot at Mysterio and then throws it out the aisle as Mysterio leaves. AJ running into Mysterio earlier in the night, letting him know, you might have defeated me at SummerSlam, but I definitely got your number. I'm going to be taking that championship off your hands a lot sooner rather than later. Let's go to Becky Lynch and her pipe bomb segment of the night, and what was honestly a snooze fest of a segment. Becky Lynch pretty much gloating over the fact that she no longer has to worry about Lyra Valkyria, as she can now focus on new challenges, and with that comes new challengers. When all of a sudden we hear the music of Nikki Bella, and this is where I let out a big old sigh at this point. Sorry, Nikki Bella fans, but I didn't ask to see Nikki Bella and Becky. That does nothing for me, brother. Like seriously, that don't work for me. Anyway, Nikki Bella comes on in there, talks about how she thought she left the women's division in great hands, but that Becky Lynch has been nothing but a disappointment in her eyes. Hmm. Meanwhile, Bella talks about how she came back to prove a point, prove to herself that she still has what it takes. Becky Lynch feeling that, oh, no, let's really be real. You're back because Hollywood isn't what you thought it was going to be. So you kind of got your first little dig right there as Becky Lynch talks about herself and landing the role in Happy Gilmore 2 there, starring Adam Sandler. Have not watched that yet. I definitely plan on watching that sometime this week. I'm hearing that's a lot better than the new Ice Cube War of the Worlds movie. Apparently, that movie is sitting at a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Bullshit you not. Bullshit you not. Bella laughs off what Nikki was saying and says that Lynch is like Seth Rollins, but no one believes in Lynch's BS. Lynch doesn't appreciate Nikki mentioning her man, saying that they are the hottest couple in WWE. And you kind of see where this is going because Nikki Bella pretty much walked right into this one here as 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 well. I tell you what, let's just go ahead and let's let the audio play for itself. I don't think WWE would mind it here if we went on ahead and played the audio here. Let's see if we can find it real quick here. Cause it'd be nice for me to just go on ahead, and mention this, but I think this is one of those worthy cases where audio wise, y'all just need to hear it. So I'm gonna shut up for a couple of seconds here, and we're gonna let this sound clip play. Cause man, did Nikki Bella walk right into this one. This is about 50 seconds. Enjoy.
Me and my... Okay. Do not talk about me and my hot husband. Me and my hot husband are the greatest wrestling couple of all time. But wait a minute, at one point that would have been you and your... Oh wait, you can't see him anymore.
Talk about roasted. Talk about roasted right there. It was at that moment, and I mean the Barclays Center's reaction to that, right? To see everybody's mouths just drop. I mean, all age demographics right there. Crowd woke the fuck up when that went down. I gotta say, I was sitting in my recliner, I was starting to nod off until we went to that moment, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm actually interested in this feud now. So that right there, man. Becky Lynch, she has her moments, and she definitely had it tonight. Nikki Bella never did really recover from that one. So how Bella tried to rebound there. She pretty much points at Becky Lynch's championship, pretty much lets her know she wants to challenge for that championship. Lynch hits her in the face, rolls out. That John Cena reference, that was a damn good burn. And Nikki Bella just walked right into that mofo. I loved it. I love it on all levels. Shout out to one of our followers, I think it is, there you are. Shout out to Cito. Cito, who says Nikki got cooked. This is probably a setup for that Paris show this month and then move on. I think Cito might definitely be on to something there. Again, we got about 4 weeks to go until Clash at Paris. So we'll see what pans out there. Other than that, I think that might have been. Oh, we did get a Gunther update. Apparently, Gunther is out indefinitely. Some orbital fractures. Like they put like a whole bunch of shit in there and talking about Gunther. He's out indefinitely. That's it. He's out indefinitely. That's all you need to know. So next week for Monday Night Raw, remember some of the matches that we've already talked about. Naomi, she will be defending her women's championship against Io Sky. We did see Rhea Ripley cross paths with Io backstage. Rhea pretty much letting her know, hey, I heard you got this match that's going to be going on with Naomi next week. That really should be me getting that title shot. Rhea still having the unresolved issues there with Io. And Io's like, yo, I'm down. I'm down. But make no mistake about it, you're never going to be able to beat me. So, Io's on a roll right now, man. Io can do no wrong. I love that Io just has this. And yeah, when you've had somebody's number every single time, it's one of those, well, they're speaking the truth, uh, but they're kind of being cocky, but they're kind of being respectful all at the same time. And only Io, like, I can't picture anybody else that can just, because you just want to, hey, Io, you all right, So Io is finding her groove right now, as is Naomi, as Natalia bumped into Naomi backstage and pretty much was like, yo, you acting like your shit don't stink. I'm here to tell you it does. Give me a title shot next week or whatever. And Natty, who was with the Alpha Academy, she ended up yelling at Becky Lynch for pretty much being mean to Nikki Bella. And yeah, I got my girls mixed up. I'm so sorry, guys. I was thinking Naomi for some reason, but yeah, no, it was Natty. Natty basically was going, you're mean. And Lynch is like, yeah, tell you what, sorry you feel that way. How about we do a match next week? Yeah, I'll fight you, Maxine Dupree. So not Natty, it's gonna be Maxine Dupree that Becky Lynch will be facing next week. We talked about the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match already, LA Knight and Seth Rollins. We opened that up at the very beginning. So yeah, we got Maxine Dupree. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. So we got Maxine Dupree next week on Monday Night Raw going up against Becky Lynch. We also have Naomi taking on Io next week for that women's championship. And then we got Sami Zayn versus Rusev next week. So that's our card for next week. Overall, the show I think made some decent progression towards Clash in Paris, kind of setting that up and everything. But I found myself not really being able to truly get into the show. Normally, I like these Raw after SummerSlams because a lot of really cool shit, a lot of heavy cool shit goes down, but it just kind of felt like WWE took their foot off the pedal just a little bit. Like, yeah, we need to recover. And look, it's understandable, not for nothing, but the amount of shows that they had pumped out all last week going in the SummerSlam weekend, I kind of feel as though maybe by the time we get to SmackDown, because SmackDown at this point feels like that's where we really need to have our eyes on and everything. But at the same time, it feels like next week for sure, WWE is maybe going to be back on
the groove as far as that energy and the storyline continuity goes. I mean, don't get me wrong, they did make some nice little progress story arc wise and all of that, but I don't know, I kind of found myself to be in and out. I found myself to be a little bit distracted here from this episode. But god damn it, that Bronson Reed stealing Roman Reigns' shoes again for a second week in a row. Yo, anytime you can somehow figure out how to keep doing that and you get me laughing my ass off, you're doing something right. I will say that. Let's go to the polls now. Let's see what you guys had to say about tonight's Raw. Hey, shout out to Don. Oh, somebody's being a dick. Oh, hang on a second. I had asked the question of Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch who asked for this, and Don said, I actually personally asked for this, so there's your answer. It's like, well, hey, that's cool, buddy. That's cool. Anyway, let's see what you guys had to say in regards to the poll here. Looking at this on Twitter at the RCWR show. See here. Oh, man. I really need to turn my ceiling fan on. I feel okay, though. I mean, I feel comfortable. So let's see what's going on here. All right, guys. Twitter poll. Woo-wee! That's a first. I am seeing 23% of you gave this Raw a thumbs down, and 77% of you, correction. 23% of you gave Raw this week a thumbs up. Meanwhile, 77% of you gave the show a thumbs down. Let's see how things are looking over on YouTube right now. YouTube.com/TheRCWRShow. Click on the post section and vote that way. Let's see how you guys are looking. Split tie. We got a split tie right now. So, interesting. Normally the pulse is more on Twitter. Usually Twitter has the better pulse. I wouldn't say it was an absolute bad show, but I think we all could be in agreement. Those of us that had watched the show, we could definitely be in agreement that we were definitely expecting a lot more sizzle, more pop and everything. But yeah, maybe next week. Or actually, we don't even have to wait till next week. We just got to get the SmackDown. That's all we got to do. We just got to get the SmackDown. SmackDown's the better show this week. We just got to get over there. So let's talk a little bit about this whole Brock Lesnar thing. All right, let's talk about this. So by now, actually, let's do this. Let's do this real quick. Let's do some house cleaning real quick. Before we talk about Brock Lesnar, let's do this real quick. Because I teased it earlier, and I can be in and out on this one. So I want to follow up on what I had talked about from the Summerslam post show, which is the fact that WWE, they are now done with these media scrums. And I told you guys how I personally felt about these media scrums. I felt that, for me personally, I felt it was rather silly that we would have these WWE superstars and all that. They'd go in this room and, they're getting some of the dumbest, weakest fucking questions that's being asked of them. We did one the other night, which was basically, hey, CM Punk, Mike Thomas from Fat Guys Love Wrestling and Porn.com. So you've been here in New Jersey now. How you like our donuts? I mean, we get you all have seen your fair share between WWE media scrums and AEW media scrums. There has been some of the dumbest media scrum questions that's asked. My ears would usually light up when I would hear, wait, wait, Sports Illustrated is in the house, or oh, Wall Street Journal is. I remember a long time ago, and we talked about it right here on the show. I said something along the lines of when John Cena was kind of right at the beginning of his retirement tour. John Cena said something along the lines of, I wish there were more members of you all here. And I think this had, you matter of fact, it's coming back to me now. This had to do with the Raw premiere on Netflix. Go back and watch that very first episode. Go watch the post-show joint after it was all over and done with. And Cena caught himself and tried to get back on the nice guy rebound and say to them, remember, this is way before he even turned. And he said to them, oh, I appreciate you guys. Think you guys are coming. You guys mean so much. But I remember reading in between the lines of that and talking behind the scenes with a couple of people where you think it's kind of safe to say John Cena just kind of felt a little slighted there. Like he was expecting more of a press media presence, for this. But it's been the same fucking people that usually are at these scrums asking the same weak ass, whack ass questions. Nothing really of substance. Let's be honest. We're all really watching these post shows, definitely to hear what Triple H Paul Levesque has to say, because he usually does pretty damn good. He gives you some interesting little stat numbers, all that box numbers, all that shit. Like, that's good. But you're also watching to hear from, certain folks that had won. In the case of SummerSlam weekend, you're definitely going, oh, well, if Naomi's going to be on the post show, I definitely want to watch. I want to hear a little bit more of what she got to say and all that. And I love that with Big E and the crew that's in place for these post shows, how they are so damn candid. I mean, it makes my ears perk up because it's like in a different year with a different person at the helm, we wouldn't be breaking these fourth walls like we're doing. We wouldn't be talking as real as we're talking now. So it's been refreshing to hear all of these things. And of course, there's been a decent amount of people that are upset over the fact that, some even jumped out there and, after all these years, all the stuff that I've done for WWE and well, first of all, there's no I in team. All right, let's make sure we let that be crystal clear. It definitely brings about how did we get to this point with WWE and doing these media scrums. And everything from what I can remember in my head kind of seems to go back to 2014. And the reason why I'm going back to 2014, because that was, if I'm not mistaken, right at about the time that the WWE network had launched, if I remember it right. Matter of fact, yes, I am remembering it right. It was February, I don't know the exact date, but it was February in 2014. And I remember that was initially the genesis of what would ultimately become a regular thing for media scrums. But it all began like right there. And, not for nothing, but WWE didn't really start leaning heavily into these media scrums. I would say not really until maybe 2 years, possibly 3 years after that it kind of started being like a regular thing and everything. So for me, the fact that WWE stayed committed to it this long. See, a lot of people were under the impression AEW was and WWE was essentially copying off of. No, WWE has always done scrums. It was just a period where they weren't doing it on a regular basis. But the genesis, it all came from 2014 and that whole WWE network thing. right? And then it was a case where, and I'll even go a little bit further than that, because I don't think a lot of people are really going to connect the dots here, but it kind of goes a little bit further back than that. When WWE actually started letting members of the wrestling media and official media outlets start covering their quarterly conference reports. If you knew the right people, you would be able to dial into this phone number thing, and you'd be waiting in queue to maybe ask a question. And as you were waiting to ask that question, you would be hearing all the information. You'd hear Vince, you'd hear, certain people, go over, certain things. And hopefully you had a pen and paper, or you were in front of your computer and you were jotting down the little notes and everything. And then when they would open up the call to members of the media, you'd get in and you would ask your questions. So you could almost make an argument that the original media scrum, it came as far back as those quarterly conference report calls, right? And so it's evolved over time. So I want to make sure that we really highlight and stress the hell out of that. All right. So for WWE to now go, well, we're just going to keep this in-house. And I did ask Tams. I said to her earlier this morning, I said, and I didn't even need to bring it up. She actually brought it up to me. She said, the SummerSlam post show, it went down exactly how you thought it was. And remember what I had said to you guys. I alluded to the fact of, if they're going to do it pretty much like inside the NBA, all right, here's Chuck, here's Ernie, here's Shaq, here's Kenny, here's some highlights, analysis. Oh, we're talking with one of the game winners, right? All that. And Tams told me, she said, yeah, I watched it for you. I watched a couple of minutes, and she was like, it went down how you thought it was going to go down. I'm like, oh, it went down like inside? It went exactly like inside. I'm like, wow. She's like, they did their own little unique spin to it, but it went down how you thought it was going to go down. They had a panel of their own. They had people stop by and chat with them and all of that. They rolled some B-roll footage and all that. She's like, but it went down exactly how you thought it was going to go down. I said, okay, cool. So if WWE going forward wants to continue to operate this way, which, they've, in case you missed it, you didn't check out our SummerSlam post shows, WWE has decided that after SummerSlam weekend, like, they're done. They're not doing any more media scrums. Good. Keep your shit in-house. I would encourage WWE, keep your shit in-house. You've got all the talent in the world that's already there. You've got guys like, even though we may not like, some of us may not like Peter Rosenberg, some of us may not like Sam Roberts, they still have that, they being WWE, they still have that connection to the media outlets that they need. And, honestly, I would imagine if push comes to shove, just on the low, if they want to get somebody in from Wall Street Journal or from Sports Illustrated, or if they maybe wanted to look at a guy like Chris Van Vliet, then they will quietly do what they need to do to get those respected guys in there, or Ariel Helwani, do what they need to do to get those respected guys in there. And because those guys, when it's all said and done, they have proven essentially that they can be safe. Whatever the process message is that WWE is trying to put out there, they can do business with these individuals knowing confidently they will ride that company line for them, because those guys value that relationship, that association that they have with them. Whereas you do these media scrums, and I promise you, there would have been, somebody would have asked a question about Triple H, Trump, all things considered with Trump. We don't even need to go down that rabbit hole. That is what it is. Or, oh my God, you guys are doing business with Brock Lesnar again. How could you all do business with Brock Lesnar again after da 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 da? You know, what do you say to Janelle Grant and her attorneys? What do you say? Da 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 da. Speaking of Brock Lesnar, let's go there. I saved this for last. Didn't want to get into it on the SummerSlam post show. Okay, so we talked about the fact that Brock Lesnar came back. That we covered. But what we didn't talk about was, how do I feel about Brock Lesnar being back? I do believe in innocent until proven guilty. But at the same time, I will be that person that will say to anybody, if you have not taken the time out to do your proper research on the whole Brock Lesnar, Janelle Grant, Vince McMahon, WWE, I'll help you out right now. But I would highly encourage you from this night going forward to always do your due diligence, to do your proper research, as this information I'm about to give you, you can find this out and read this all on your own. And then you can come to a more informed and enlightened, not really conclusion, but at least you'll have a better grasp of a perspective on this whole situation. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's talk about this. Shout out to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. He saw the buzz that was going on online, and he decided to reiterate some of the stuff that has pretty much been out there for public knowledge. Now, I remember reading all this stuff before. Didn't really get into the weeds of talking about this because for me, this whole Janelle Grant situation, it's a ever changing, it's ever evolving. There's, my God, like it's constantly developing. It's constantly new turns and all that's going on. But the pages in regards to this Janelle Grant lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon, the pages detail descriptions of alleged sexual abuse by McMahon and what Grant says was her attempt, or correction, Vince McMahon's attempt to traffic her to Brock Lesnar during a contract negotiation. Now, pause for a second. I'm not presenting any of this. I'm not saying that this is fact, this is bullshit, right? This is just what all is in this lawsuit by Janelle Grant and her people against Vince McMahon and the WWE. It's important context here. So here's what's in the official case documents here. McMahon uses Ms. Grant as a sexual pawn to entice world-famous wrestling talent and to keep Brock Lesnar under contract with the WWE. Brock Lesnar is famous worldwide as a top talent formerly with WWE, with a large collective fan base that helped generate viewership and drove in-person attendance, all of which enriched Vince McMahon and WWE. Upon information and belief, McMahon began to recruit Lesnar for a sexual encounter with Ms. Grant while she was still a coordinator in the legal department. By July of 2021, McMahon informed Ms. Grant that Lesnar would be their next playmate. As in other instances, McMahon described his fantasy of seeing Ms. Grant engaged in unmerciful sexual acts with Lesnar, during which he would rip her open. McMahon also confided to Ms. Grant that he wanted to have Lesnar under a new contract, while Lesnar indicated an interest in a return to other professional endeavors. Are you with me so far? It's just getting warmed up. On or about July 12, 2021, McMahon directed Ms. Grant to create personalized sexual content for Lesnar. McMahon shared the photos with Lesnar and then informed Ms. Grant that he likes what he sees. Lesnar, that is, likes what he sees. An exhibit, a photo screenshot of a text exchange between Vince McMahon and Janel Grant. Vince McMahon sharing a picture of himself with Janel Grant. And right up under it, him saying at 2:38 p.m., yes, I need a pic and looking forward to meet you. Text under the picture. Make it a good one, baby. Vince McMahon, less than 10 minutes later. I mean, I need a pic for Brock with appropriate text underneath. 3:21 p.m. Vince McMahon, where's his pic? 3:22 p.m., like a minute later. Actually, want to send a video or photo? On July 21st, 2021, McMahon flew and/or called Lesnar to fly on a jet into a local airport and travel into Connecticut across state lines for what McMahon described to Ms. Grant as a business dinner, as well as a sexual encounter with Ms. Grant in McMahon's condo. Upon information and belief, the dinner was to discuss Lesnar's continued involvement with WWE. Prior to the business dinner with McMahon, Lesnar made a brief visit to Ms. Grant's building. However, Lesnar did not return to the building for a sexual encounter because he was too intoxicated and taken back to the plane. Later that evening, after McMahon recounted the story about his dinner with Lesnar to Ms. Grant, he sought to salvage the night with a request that they role play a sexual encounter in which McMahon acted as if he were Lesnar. McMahon was so physically rough with Ms. Grant during this encounter that Ms. Grant begged Mr. McMahon to stop numerous times, including loud cries of, "Help! I'm serious!" and "I'm scared," as he, among other things, penetrated her, fisted her, pulled her hair, pinned her, shoved her, open palm slapped her. McMahon's assault caused Ms. Grant to break down, weeping and curl into the fetal position with her arms pulled up to protect her face. Can I pause a second? I apologize if this upsets people hearing this. I really, really do. But I am reading this so that people have full context of pretty much what is like in this lawsuit disposition, like, and there's like over 100 pages of this. So if you have the time, right, I'm just going through the meaty stuff that ties into Lesnar. That's it. But there is a plethora more that you can go out and you can read this on your own. Okay? Let's keep going. Apologize if this upsets people, but it's very important that we highlight this. I'm getting a little upset reading this, I got to tell you. Very, very, very disturbed here. McMahon's assault caused Ms. Grant to break down, weeping, and curl into the fetal position with her arms pulled up to protect her face. McMahon alternated between slaps and shoves before admitting, quote, "I'm really fucking up with you right and left tonight, huh?" McMahon forbade Ms. Grant from leaving his condo that night unless she could verbally assure him that there wasn't a problem and everything between them was okay. Notably, however, he made no effort to check on her well-being after she left the condo. On August 26, 2021, WWE held its second biggest annual event, Summerslam, in Las Vegas at the Allegiant Stadium. Around this time, McMahon and Lesnar privately reached an informal agreement about Lesnar's return. That night, McMahon texted Ms. Grant a reminder that she was an enslaved object to him. Quote, I want to drive you lower and lower, so low that you might beg me to sell you. Seeing some exhibits of screenshots of text messages here. Looks like something here from Vince, which says, with you and me, it's all about our debauchery. I want to drive you lower and lower, so low you might beg me to sell you, just so you can get more and more, just to satisfy your insatiable lust. I want to sit back. Well, we're going there. All right, guys. This is definitely not a PG show right now. If you are under the age of 18, you better be getting your parents' permission to listen to this shit. All right, let's go here. I want to sit back and jack off as I'm witnessing you with 3 men at the same time, with a dick in your pussy, a dick in your ass, a dick in your mouth, all at the same time as you gag for breath and you're filled with dick, stretching your ass and pussy more than ever. I'll shoot my load on you after it's over. Are y'all with me so far? McMahon continued to advertise a sexual encounter with Ms. Grant to Lesnar during the formal negotiation of a new booking contract with WWE. Screenshot of a phone conversation, Vince saying, quote, here's what Brock said after I told him that part of the deal was fucking you, LOL. Quote, LOL, that's your turf. Brock Lesnar saying to Vince, LOL, that's your turf. Brock followed up saying, she will be ruined after me and leave your ass. Brock would go on to say, plus after me, your tool won't fit anymore. Laughing emojis. So, jumping ahead a little bit. Miss Grant expressed her apprehension about the arrangement to Mr. McMahon and tried to run interference on starting a sexual relationship with Brock Lesnar. In the days that follow, Lesnar revealed a fetish to Miss Grant and tested Mr. McMahon's promise that Miss Grant would do anything with a request that she send a video of herself urinating. Unable to recognize herself, Miss Grant went numb and obeyed. Lesnar informed Miss Grant if she had not complied with the request, Lesnar would have lost any interest in her, then called her a bitch. McMahon actively attempted to organize a sexual encounter between Ms. Grant and Lesnar, stating, you have to take a flight to Greensville, South Carolina this Monday, even if it's just to see Brock. That same month, Lesnar expressed to Ms. Grant his desire to set a play date and have a sexual encounter. McMahon and Lesnar organized an encounter in conjunction with Lesnar's appearance at a show at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, with Lesnar even sending Miss Grant the address for the hotel where he would be staying. However, a snowstorm changed Lesnar's travel plans, and Miss Grant ultimately used the weather and COVID-19 as an excuse to back out. Now, the rest of this, from what I'm seeing, it goes into when Linda McMahon finds out about what Vince is doing and is, threatening divorce, all that other stuff. So I'm going to skip that part. But as far as everything circling back to Brock Lesnar, on January 24th, 2022, McMahon continued to engage in sexual text message exchanges with Ms. Grant, including encouraging her to send an explicit photo to Brock Lesnar. McMahon also requested Ms. Grant send him content she had sent to Lesnar. At the same time, McMahon finalized a booking for Lesnar to perform in a live event at Madison Square Garden, during which it was expected that Ms. Grant and Lesnar would engage in a sexual encounter. Of course, McMahon understood this conduct would be a clear violation of the forthcoming NDA, which he was coercing Ms. Grant into signing. The negotiations of the NDA were brief, lasting only 8 days. During the 9 days which he represented her, Ms. Grant's attorney expressed apprehension about moving forward so quickly with the NDA. Ms. Grant reminded McMahon that the NDA ought to address people who knew about their relationship, including but not limited to Nick Khan, Brad Blum, John Laurinaitis, and Mr. McMahon's personal assistants. Ms. Grant and her attorney sought to incorporate the list of individuals who had knowledge of the relationship into a Schedule A in the NDA, who were the 5 people Ms. Grant would continue to interact with after her employment at WWE ended. Ms. Grant's requested revisions were flatly rejected by McMahon and WWE, who reverted their original draft rather than incorporate any of her proposed changes, with the exception that as of the date of execution, Ms. Grant would not speak of the relationship. So I'll read to you just a little bit more here. On March 2nd, 2022, while Ms. Grant was away on a trip to Florida, McMahon called Ms. Grant, advised that it would probably be the last time he would hear from him, and said if she needed anything to contact Nick Khan or Brad Blum. Over the course of approximately a half-hour call, McMahon laminated both his inability to focus on the upcoming WrestleMania and how his personal life had been blown up over the past few weeks. Towards the end of their conversation, McMahon and Ms. Grant agreed to resume contact after WrestleMania. He also instructed Ms. Grant to continue having sexual relations with other men, including Brock Lesnar, in the meantime. On or around March 4th, 2022, Lesnar messaged Ms. Grant that he was in New York. In line with McMahon's orders, Ms. Grant texts Lesnar explicit pictures. On March 27, 2022, Lesnar reached out to Ms. Grant again. Ms. Grant understood that these back-to-back advances were an indication of Mr. McMahon's continued control. On March 30th, 2022, Ms. Grant's counsel received a call from McMahon's attorney advising that there had been an anonymous email about the relationship between Ms. Grant and McMahon and Laurinaitis. Further, despite the assurances from McMahon that he would cover her medical care and the costs associated with her tax liability for the $1 million payment, McMahon had refused to cover those costs. McMahon continued to pay for Ms. Grant's medical care until April 15, 2022, when it abruptly ceased. Later in June and July 2022, stories were published regarding the matter of McMahon's multiple NDAs with various women associated with WWE and others. Additionally, on June 13th, 2022, Ms. Grant received an email to her personal account from an attorney at Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett, LLP, seeking to talk to her about an investigation. Now, I should note that Lesnar is not a defendant in this suit. No criminal charges have been filed. You got McMahon saying, no wrongdoing here. Now, whether or not Grant's allegations specifically against Lesnar amount to anything illegal, Brandon Thurston points this out, which is section 1591, sex trafficking of children or by force, fraud, or coercion. Whoever knowingly, 1, in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce or within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States, recruits, entices, harbors, transports, provides, obtains, advertises, maintains, patronizes, or solicits by any means a person or 2 benefits financially, or by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture which was engaged in an act described in violation of paragraph 1. This continues on, knowing or except where the act constituting the violation of paragraph 1 is advertising in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, corrosion described in subsection E2, or any combination of such means will be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act, or that the person has not attained the age of 18 years and will be caused to engage in a commercial sex act, shall be punished as provided in subsection B. Are you with me? So that's everything Brock Lesnar. Nice, pretty little ribbon and everything. Now, again, you can read this and so much more. Y'all have access to it. I really hope that by going through key parts of this disposition and everything, I really hope that this gives you all that did not ever take the time out to enlighten, empower, expand your mind. I hope that after hearing this, you now are going, whoa. Especially if it was a case where, you know, and you're not being naive, you're not being stupid, but legit, like if you never heard any of this before, you never did your research, and you legit said to yourself, well, I don't see what the big deal is. Hopefully now you're kind of going, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, oh, wow, shit don't hit the fan. Like, oh, okay, I get it. We see what just had recently happened to Shannon Sharp. Boy, Monique tried to warn him. Cat Williams tried to warn him as well, you know. And for me, it's not about race, but it has more to do with, dude, you picked the wrong people to associate with. Seriously, you picked the wrong people to associate with, because some people, when they see that you doing good, they're trying to figure out whatever they can to get that. If they can get a piece of that cake, they try to do whatever they can by any means necessary, right? But seeing this stuff here with Brock Lesnar, now obviously innocent until proven guilty, right? But to just see all of this stuff, right? We can all be in agreement. It's enough cause to pause. Now, to each its own. Me personally, because I have that marketing background, I've got that business background, especially from a self-business perspective, you know, running my own business and all that, and have been for years. I'm taking a step back, and I am just going, you know, if I were to open up a wrestling promotion tomorrow or next week or next month, and I had access to anybody I wanted, anybody. I don't know about you guys, but I don't give a fuck how many championships Brock Lesnar has won. I don't give a fuck what he's done in the UFC. Just the fact that his name is shrouded in mystery, legality mystery at that, with all of what I just read to you. That's enough cause for pause to make me go, I'm good. Appreciate you, but I'm good. If I had to choose between a whiny ass Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, yeah, you know, this Brock Lesnar dude, he might not be truly a homegrown WWE guy. Yeah, he might be a WCW guy. But god damn it, at least he's tried to work with us, and you know, he's always willing to do the right thing, and yeah, we may butt heads with him creatively, but man, have you ever heard this guy get into any trouble? Like, legit, have you ever really heard this guy involved in any type of scandal? Now, granted, when you go back and, you look at Brock Lesnar, you know, most part, Brock Lesnar has kept his nose clean. And some could say, no, this is really the first time that but is it enough that you want to roll the dice? Again, you got to think from a business perspective. You got to put that business cap on. Is that really the type of gamble that you want to take, knowing that your promotion, your company is going to be under great scrutiny? Not just by the media, but by the audience as well. Do you really want to take that gamble? And as we see with WWE, they're willing to take that gamble. To the people that are upset about what's going on with Brock Lesnar, and you're going, fuck WWE, fuck that bald-head son of a bitch Triple H, fuck Brock Lesnar, deuce, I'm out. You're allowed to feel that way. Trust me, there is nothing wrong with feeling that way and saying, I'm going to go take myself, my money, my time, I'm going to go give that to this wrestling promotion over here. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to let you in on something. That's not hurting WWE. We were joking about it on night 2 of the Summerslam post show. But I was talking about, man, all that goddamn product placement. Wingstop, Slim Jim, Wheatland Vodka, Papa John's, Maybelline, Make-A-Wish. Minute Maid. Target. Real American beer. Come on now. Chime. Whoever else they got. I mean, seriously, if you really want to hurt WWE, I have said this time and time again over the years. This is what makes me dangerous. For those of you that may feel, I've had my critics. Some feel I'm not edgy enough, or I'm too classic radio, or let me tell you something. I ain't never going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm always going to tell you what you need to hear. And that's what makes me dangerous. That's why I've been a solo act for so long. That's why companies like WWE and a few others don't want me interviewing their guys and all that, because they feel they can't control me. And they're right. Because I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, which is, if you really want to hurt WWE, you hurt them by going through their fucking advertisers. That's how you hurt them. You boycott their advertisers. You get whatever petitions that you need to get. You freaking do whatever rallies, protesting that you need to get X amount of people and be in front of those advertisers. Get the address for those companies, and whatever their base is, that's how you do it. Because when you start doing shit like that, that makes the advertisers go, ooh, what's going on here? Do we really want to have this association? Do we really want to have this level of scrutiny against, let's call the WWE. We need to get more details on what's going on here. What's causing all, we don't understand. What the hell's going on? And the advertiser's like, hey, what's going on? What are you guys doing? How can you reassure us that XYZ? What steps are you guys taking? That is how you hurt them. But sadly, let's be honest. There are too many of you out there that you're not willing to do that. For a lot of you all, it's a case of just continue to give me my entertainment fix. I ain't trying to hear all that noise. I'm just turning on my TV. I don't give a fuck what's going on with these wrestlers and their personal life. As long as they're able to entertain me for the 90 minutes, 2+ hours that they're on my TV set, and I can forget about my problems, that's all I care about. Just know you can't have it both ways. You can't talk about how all you want is your entertainment and all that shit, and then at the same time be like, well, we got to get this guy off TV because moral etiquette. You can't have it both ways. You're either all in one way or you're all in the other way. But if you really want to hurt WWE, you hurt them through their advertisers. Now, some people may say, oh man, well, they got too many advertisers. Like, you'd be surprised what you can do when you get a petition together, when you are in a Reddit community or Discord community and you gather up support and you pretty much take it from there. I would imagine, and no bullshit, I would imagine, I haven't poked around in ags. I'm quite sure that if I wanted to, I could find out. Maybe I will, but I would imagine that a lot of the WWE superstars were quite taken back by Brock Lesnar coming back into the company. I would imagine that they were blindsided. I would imagine they did not get any inkling, nothing of a heads up. I would imagine that there are those that have mixed emotions right now. Now, if you're Ari Emanuel in TKO, you knew it was just going to be a matter of time before Brock Lesnar had something to do with the WWE. You just knew, because you just felt honestly like, nah, they gonna want to do some big things. They gonna make some big money with Brock Lesnar, because they essentially would be a fool not to. But then it comes back to, but does the risk outweigh? And obviously WWE is going, it's worth it, to the point. What is it now? 72 million views and counting from Brock Lesnar's SummerSlam return. And all he did was like 30 seconds. Popped up, walked down the ramp, F5, John Cena. That was it. And that's got over 72 million views and counting. Social media is in a frenzy. You got all those motherfuckers that's doing their little watch-alongs. Oh my God, Brock Lesnar, oh my God. And that's the audience that WWE wants. That's what they want right there. They don't care about, right? They know the risk. But they're going, yo, there's some good money to be had. So we've got, not to get too political, but we got Donald Trump in office, who has been good friends with Vince McMahon for a long time. We got Triple H just through that association, right? And given the fact of what's currently going on with Triple H Paul Levesque's mother-in-law, Linda McMahon, fact that she is the head of the Secretary of Education. And let me tell you something, a lot of my friends that are fellow classmates, teachers, they're shitting their pants right now. The future of financial aid and how far is the goalpost going to be moved, from getting the financial aid and resources that we need to be able to tap into, and X amount of teachers that's being let go left and right. Trump saying, yo, this dean needs to step down because or I'm not giving that university any money. We got all this shit that's going on. But we got Linda McMahon with the Trump administration and through association, Triple H and all of that. Like, we got all that in one nice little ball we got the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant ongoing lawsuit here where Vince McMahon is just really looking like the putz with his dick in his hands. And we got Brock Lesnar where, it's going to be really, really a challenge for Janelle Grant and crew to be able to prove definitively. Because, see, what they have to prove is, well, did Brock Lesnar know? Right? And the only way that they're really going to be able to know is by somehow being able to gain access to Vince McMahon's cell phone records. That's really the only way they're going to be able to know, is to get a hold of his cell phone records, get a hold of Brock Lesnar's cell phone records, and then definitively be able to see, because for all we may know, Vince might have spung it to Brock Lesnar. Hey, pal. I gotta tell you, I'm dating this girl. Oh my God, her name's Janel. Oh my God, she's a freak. She's a super freak. Yeah, she does all kinds of crazy sick shit. She's a freak. Would you like to see some pictures? When you're throwing it like that, and we know how some men are when they get around other men. Yeah, tell me more about your woman, man. What's going on with her? What's good? Oh, she get down like that? Well, yeah. If you want to share a couple of nudies, sure. You may find me, and I'm good. Whatever, But that's what they would have to prove, and the only way they're really going to be able to do that, like I said, they're going to have to somehow obtain records for both of those guys. Only then, and only then, if you can bullseye, we got him. As far as Brock Lesnar, we got him. Then it becomes a whole new and embarrassing situation, a whole new can of worms. But for WWE TKO to bring Brock Lesnar back, this really signals to me, 2 cents from a distance, this really signals to me that they have probably thought long and hard about it, probably some interesting discussions behind the scenes, and probably a case where, and I'm sure that the question was probably asked, be real with us now. Like, is this shit with Janelle Grant going to come back to bite us in the ass? Because, we need to know. They gave us the nice cleaned up version for WWE presentation. I'm telling you, though, I strongly believe, definitely behind the scenes. Because you can't roll the dice with this type of risk without confidently knowing that this ain't going to come back to blow up in our face. Like, literally, figuratively, financially, literally. Janelle Grant and crew, they did release a statement in regards to the Brock Lesnar stuff. I'll read that to you real quick here, because I did see that. And let me see if I can find that real quick for you guys. She said the following. By the way, have you guys seen the new trailer for the Spike Lee Denzel Washington movie called Highest to Lowest? It stars Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, ASAP, Rocky, and Ice Spice. It looks really, really good. Basically, it follows this music mogul whose empire is shaken when he has to make a critical decision. I think, if I kind of remember right, I believe his son is kidnapped or whatever. So it's got a little taste of Mel Gibson's Ransom and some other stuff. But the trailer looks really, really good. Go check that out. It's pretty badass. Here we go. Spokesperson for Janelle Grant issued the following statement on Brock Lesnar's return to WWE, and I quote, "For far too long, abuse was allowed to thrive under WWE's leadership. Instead of righting this wrong, WWE has done nothing to ensure those responsible are held accountable. This attempt to sweep misconduct under the rug will backfire. We look forward to the full set of facts, including those about Mr. Lesnar, coming out in a court of law where they belong. In the meantime, we refer you back to Janelle Grant's updated complaint, which outlines in detail the abuse she endured by McMahon and others while employed in WWE. So y'all can read the rest of the documents on your own. But we mainly went through the meat and potatoes of all of that. So other than that, some other stuff that we can get into real quick. Relatively quiet. Relatively quiet. I hate to kind of end it on that note of a serious, But as far as any other headlines that's going on here, uh, really nothing else. It's kind of relatively quiet. TKO, they do have some plans to introduce more two-night pay-per-view events in the future. They are eyeing Survivor Series in 2026 and the 2027 Royal Rumble. That is being considered at the top of their list to turn into two-night extravaganzas, with Money in the Bank possibly being thrown into the mix as well. And that is according to a report by Andrew Baydala. So shout out to him. Look, if they wanted to do more two-night events, I think it honestly, it has to make a lot of sense. Like logistically, storyline wise, and all of that, it has to make a lot of sense. So for example, should Money in the Bank be a two-night event? No. Money in the Bank does not need to be a two-night event. I don't think not unless the way you wanted to do Money in the Bank. I would throw this caveat. If you were to do Money in the Bank as a two-night event, then you need to have one night be nothing but about the men. Definitely a men's Money in the Bank, but as far as in-ring action goes leading up to that men's Money in the Bank match, then all the other matches on the card, men's matches as well. And then you do the next night for nothing but the women. I think if you were to maybe go about it that way, that way at least you can really, really highlight the hell out of your depth for your respected rosters and all that. If you were to kind of take it in that direction, then yeah, sure. Royal Rumble. Ooh, Royal Rumble, I almost feel like that should just continue to be a one-night event. I don't really think you need to break that up and make that a two-night event. I really, really don't. If they were to go in that direction, you can't help but go, well, should they do the same thing again? Same idea that I just mentioned for Money in the Bank. Should they do that again for Royal Rumble as well? You see where I'm getting at here? So it's kind of one of those things where not just logistics, but you would also have to try and figure out, okay, well, for that WWE PLE weekend, you're also going to have to figure out, much like with the two-night SummerSlam extravaganza and all of that, that's like a whole bunch of additional coordinating that you're going to have to do for those respected cities, as far as renting out the arenas, and then you're trying to figure out hotel and travel expenses for your respective VIP packages and all that other shit. So it's 2025 right now, and this report by Andrew, suggesting that as early as next year that something like this could possibly happen. I don't know. I don't know. I always say quality over quantity, and I don't really think the answer right here is up in the quantity. Not when your quality is already kind of lacking a little bit. WWE creatively, you shouldn't just be doing something just to be doing something. I mean, also think about it from what we've seen with WWE so far. And I'm not going to say those poor men and women, of the rosters because they're getting paid good money and everything. But what I will say is, my guy, we're already doing all these other shows multiple times a week. And then you got to meet your commitments to the Saudi Prince and those Saudi Arabia shows. And now you're talking about throwing in some key pay-per-views that could be 2-night events. Like, it's definitely a bit overkill. But then on the other hand, you can also look at it and go, well, if it means that we're going to be able to showcase more of the undercard, then, right? So it's kind of an interesting, it's one of those things where my girl will always say to me when I get a really good idea, she'll say to me, get a pen and paper, write down the pros, write down the cons, and whichever one at the very end, whichever has more, then that's the direction you should go. So if I have more pros, then I should do it. But if I got more cons, I should probably leave it alone. So there's still plenty of time. I think WWE is going to be able to eventually figure it all out when it's all said and done. Besides that, I see continued praise for the new Naked Gun movie with Liam Neeson. I did not get a chance to see it because of Summerslam weekend. I actually was supposed to see it, but then it dawned on me, oh shit, like how am I going to be able to pull this off? And then I got to do SummerSlam. So the logistics wasn't working for me. So me and the wifey, we're going to go see it. I think for sure this Friday, because she's off from work this Friday. So we're going to kick back and see it. Hey, I uploaded a video on YouTube in regards to my plants. So apparently there's been a decent amount of you guys, off and on the past couple of months, y'all have appreciated the talk of plants. So there's a really cool video on the YouTube channel right now giving you guys a little bit of a plant tour. So you guys are more than welcome to go check that out and everything, see what's been keeping me calm and at ease, at peace in between the shows and everything. But yeah, the plants are doing good. As far as the plant update goes, the plants are doing good. I'm happy to say that I'm starting to finally figure things out with the bonsai. In the new covering and light setup that it has not been dropping leaves as much. Now, daily, I was losing like 2-3 leaves a day or whatever. And now I'm lucky if one leaf drops in a whole week. So it's doing a lot better. Showing lots of new growth and all that. So it's doing great. It is really, really doing great. I added a Asian red evergreen plant to my collection, as you guys will see in the video. And that is a thing of beauty. I've never seen pink stems and all that before of a plant. It's badass. It's badass. And then other than that, before SummerSlam had came on Sunday, I was teaching Tams how to play Magic the Gathering. And she's going to kick my ass if she ever hears this. But I swear to you, sometimes she acts like the Kevin Spacey character in The Usual Suspects. And at the very end, it's like, oh my God, you were faking all along. Are you serious? And so I told her, I said, like, look, this is how you play. I'm teaching her how to play and all that. And like each time I'm like, are you done? She's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm like, nah, you don't look done to me. Like you got all these lands and you ain't playing nothing. What's going on? And at one point I said, let me see your hand. And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, look at your hand again. And so I had to remind her, hey, look, you got to look at this in the corner. That tells you how much. And at the same time, when I was teaching her how to play, I said, sometimes you can have the shittiest luck of the draw and you can have some really good cards in your hand and not get any land to play your spells. Fucking A. That's exactly what happened with the very first game. The only game that we've played so far because of SummerSlam. That's what happened with me. I was pushing a blue and red deck. She was pushing a white and green deck. I pulled some really good cards. I only had 2 lands for the entire game. I ain't pulled nothing else. And so a lot of the cards that I had, I mean, they were high costing spells. So she kicked my ass big time. I was like, you ain't fooling me no more with the whole babe in the woods gimmick. I'm like, I told her, I said, you tenacious, man. You evil. I'm like, you evil. It's like you played me. I'm looking forward to getting revenge though on her and all of that. Apparently there were a lot of you guys that were taken back when you heard that I've been playing Hero Clicks recently too. Haven't quite finally sat down and started playing Hero Clicks yet. Me and her are still trying to learn the basics because I mean it's just a serious so we're still trying to figure that out. I got a couple of more additional pieces that's going to be coming. I've got some really cool, like big ass figures that's coming. There's a from X-Men Swords of X. There's a really huge Apocalypse figure. It's as tall as this. I don't know if you guys can see it. Not the Galactus head, but there's a Galactus statue that's right here. I'm touching it right now. You can kind of see it if I move the mic this way and I take my hand right here, you can kind of see it in the corner here of where I'm pointing. That stands about 12 inches. There's a Apocalypse figure that's coming for that, and then a couple of other things. A couple other things that's kind of coming too. So it's pretty cool. So that's what's happening with me behind the scenes. I'm taking it easy. I'm trying to enjoy myself before September 2nd hits. Because once September 2nd hits, my fall transfer it goes into effect, and I'll be starting my journalism major program for the next hopefully 2.5, maybe definitely under 3 years, but it's possible it could creep up to 3 years. So I'm just trying to enjoy this last little bit for the rest of the month before the shit hits the fan. Because it's funny. My girl was telling me the other day. She says, I'm gonna miss you making my breakfast, packing my lunch. She's like, I know you're really going to be busy once September hits. I said, yeah. She says, well, maybe I can start making you your lunch. Maybe I'll pack it for you the night before and everything. I said, oh, that's sweet of you. I appreciate that. So I'm just enjoying the calm while it lasts. So as far as quick programming notes goes, that is it. I am on a well-deserved break. I was debating on whether or not to do a Wednesday show, but it just seems like things are relatively quiet right now. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to take it. I think if anything, I may do a Friday show, because I think that Friday night SmackDown, I think that's where we all want to be right now. Cena's going to be there. We know Cody's going to be on there because he's already been advertised. We just like to believe that Brock is going to be advertised as well. I don't know. I'm just kind of, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do a Friday night SmackDown post show. Maybe I won't. But as long as you're staying connected on social media, you guys will know what's going on. Before we get ready to dip, I definitely want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors, because without them, content like what you're checking out right now would not have been made possible. Shout out to my guys over at the IME iRadio station, your global soundtrack featuring indie artists, top 40 hits from the R&B genre. Man, they got some nice good throwbacks mixed in with today's music. Look at it as a world tour before your ears. Man, just vibe out, mellow out to some really great tunes, some hidden gems. Check them out. They operate 24/7. That is the IME iRadio station. Once again, the IME iRadio station. So check those guys out. Love working with them. We got some other sponsors as well. I got to work post-production, get the audio version of this together. Shout out to everybody that supports the show. Remember, we got episodes available wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. Get at me all throughout social media using the same keywords as well. You enjoyed this, do your thing, hit the like. Show that YouTube channel some love. We really been blowing it up over there as of late. So definitely subscribe over there, hit the likes, all that. Show that some love. And until next go around, my pretty babies, I'm wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. Keep the discussion going. I'm always checking out y'all's comments and everything. Take care, y'all. Peace.